I was so scared. I screamed. And that's when I heard inside of me call my name. And I'm like, Jesus, please come take me. I just got pulled out. I was in the sky and he was next to me. And I was looking down and I could see family member and I would scream like, call Jesus. I wanted to help them. Just say his name. And he turned to me and he's like, it's too late.
Veronica, welcome back to God's Voice today. We briefly connected a few weeks ago on one of my free 15-minute phone calls. And by the way, if you're watching this interview and you have a supernatural encounter that you want to share with me, you can schedule a free phone call by going to godsvoiceday.com/call, just like Veronica did. And Veronica, before we jump into your supernatural encounters, you went to hell. You had a conversation with Jesus. Just so many powerful supernatural encounters. But before we get to all of that, for everyone watching, people that don't know you, can you kind of zoom out and paint the picture of what your life was like leading up to all those supernatural encounters?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my life was not easy. I grew up Catholic, actually. I remember I used to go to church with my mom. I was very young, but I never took this very seriously because I would not listen to the pastor, right? I would go with the nuns in the basement eating chocolate chips. So for me, it was just like not serious at all. And my mom would stay there. And when it would be over, they would bring me back to her. She tried to pray many times, but at one point she looked at me and my twins and she's like, if you don't take this seriously, I'm just going to stop, which she did. My parents got together actually when my mom was pregnant. So I was adopted by my dad that I have right now. I would say everything was well when my parents went together. And as soon as I was around 6, 7, they decided to separate. And what happened after that, that's really when everything went south, I would say. I started doubting maybe because they don't love me. My mom was violent with me. At one point, I got molested by a parent, not my parents, but someone of my family that my parent trusted them. So I would say after that, everything went calm. But during my teenage, I would really revolt and I had so much anger inside. I would fight all the time. I would get kicked out of school. I really had a lot of problems. I never knew where that anger was coming from. I never understood until I was 13 when I finally speak up and told my parents what happened when I was 6, 7. And my mom, the first thing she said is, I knew it. I felt it. A mother, an instinct mother, know when someone is going to hurt their child. It's something, it's inner. You know it when something is not right. And I remember she cried and she's like, now I understand why you guys had so much anger. Me and my sister, we were so angry at the world and everything, because when you're 6, 7 years old, you don't really understand the meaning behind. You're kind of confused, right? Because it's not something that your parent really teach. And I would say that after leading up to that, I stopped school. I mean, I didn't have any degree. I just went everywhere life would bring me. So I was working in restaurants. In Canada, the year that you can leave school, so you don't have any problem, it's 16 years old. So I would say at 16, the minute I had 16, I was like, I'm out of here. I don't want to continue anything like that. So an agreement I had with my parents at the time was like, if you continue to school, you don't pay anything in the house. But if you want to stop the school and actually work, well, you need to start paying, which is kind of normal, you want to not study and just go grown up adult at 16, then, I mean, you have to have your responsibilities. So I would say after that, my mom met my stepfather that I have right now, when I was 10 years old. So at 10 years old, they got together. I had my other twins, brother and sister, and my younger one. So we were 5. And actually, that's the only man apart from my dad that was very good to us. My mom, she would meet guys, but they were not very nice. So my whole life, I grew up with like to see that when people want to show you they love you, they hurt you. So this is kind of damaging a little bit, you know, when especially when you're young, you before teenager, it kind of build trauma inside of you, and down the road, that's when you realize that okay, like this is bigger than I thought. So yeah, I would say like she met him, they had their children, we were living together, and at one point my mom was in tarot cards. And I was like, okay. And that's when everything started to come, you know, like I got into it a little bit, but my stepfather is very much into Jesus. So he was like, this is witchcraft. And like, he didn't want anything involved in this. And when my mom used to do it, I remember at one point, my little brother came to me and he was like, Veronica, there's a lady in my room and she's very scary. She wants to hurt me. And it, like, I have chills just talking about it because the night before, I remember I was in my bed and I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw the light just open like this. And it was coming from another room because my bedroom is in the basement. And the door opened by itself. And I'm like, oh my God, I froze. And I was like, okay. And I saw a lady the same way that he described him, like my little brother described her, same lady. And you know, sleep paralysis, when it's like you cannot scream, you cannot move, like I froze there. I was like, what's going on? And she was taking her hand and she was at the end of my bed and she was touching my bed and coming like this next to me. And that's when I just could take my blanket, hide, and I was ready to scream. And when I told that to my mom, that's when the day after we spoke with my stepfather and he's like, what's going on? And I said, I don't want to sleep downstairs anymore. Like I'm scared. My little brother was telling my stepfather what happened and he looked at her and he's like, you need to stop. Like you're bringing stuff inside of the house that you're not even aware who this is or what they want. And at one point it was becoming a little bit very intense. So we had to call someone because like we didn't know what she did. So after that, she kind of let that on the side and leading forward. At one point, I just moved with my dad when I was in age and I was working. So I tried to have a normal life, I would say. I was seeing a therapist, tried to work on myself a little bit, which is normal. You know, when you have, I would say, a childhood that is not very easy. We were very, very poor. So I would always ask my mom, like, why them and not me? You know, like the school was paying clothes for winter or summer, you know, like the full suit because she never had the money to buy them. So it was not an easy part when I was very young. And when I moved with my dad, that's when I was like, I want to change things. I want to be better in life, right? But at 18 years old, I got in a car accident and I actually lost my first car that I bought a month before. And at that time, I had a boyfriend and I was in the hospital and I came out and I didn't have my car anymore. He was like, well, I cannot do it because you cannot drive anymore. You don't have a car. So it's over. And at the same time, I lost my job. So I was like, okay, I lost my car that I just bought. I lost my boyfriend. I lost my job. Like, what should I do? And you know, the enemy is very deceitful, but you're never going to see it coming. So when I was working at that restaurant, there's a girl that was there and that was like, oh, you know, my cousin, she's dancing and she's making a lot of money. And I was like, And that struck me because it stays in my mind. So when I lost everything, that's when I realized and I was like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I need something quick. Like, I need to find anything. Like, I mean, I have no car, no job, heartbroken. Like, what am I going to do? So that's when a family member used to dance. And she's like, well, why don't you come with me? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure. So I decided to go with her. I was 18 years old. Like, maybe 18 years old and 3 months. It was not like I was very fresh, like major, let's go.
Before we get back to the episode, if you're enjoying this interview, can you take a second to subscribe? It really helps us reach more people with these powerful stories. Thank you in advance. Now let's get back to the interview.
And what happened with her is she never told me that you need to bring your cash and all these things. So she actually took all the money from me and was using me for literally 2 weeks. And that's when someone came to me and was like, what are you doing? Like, you know what she's doing, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? When you're so innocent at 18 years old and no one teach you how life works or how people are. I mean, it's very easy to be innocent and just listen to what people have to say, especially someone from your family, right? And so after that, that's when I realized I was like, okay, this is not the good person. I kind of pushed her out and I did my own things. I would say for 2-3 years. It was the worst years of my life. I mean, like, the way girls show it, like all the money, all the glamorous, the bling, like all these things, I would say it's like an iceberg. This is like very surface, but deep down, you lose your soul. Like you lose yourself. It's damaging to a point where you feel like you have no value at all. I think I was lucky to actually not go the same path as many girls. And what I mean by that is some of them were not enough lucky to make it out of there. And it's a very dangerous place. Like what you see in TV and in the movies and all these things, imagine it's 10 times worse. Like it's not, I would never wish that to anyone on earth. Like that was my biggest mistake because not only I lost myself, but I ended up empty from it. I mean, I was drugged. I mean, party all the time. It was horrible. And people say, oh, not all the girls, like they go through it. That's not true. I saw girls, it's the pit of hell. I mean, like you want to see what hell look like? Go there. You will see it. Like the density when you come inside of it, it's so strong. And before I never saw it this way because, when you go in there and you don't know Christ, because I was not a Christian. I mean, I knew who Jesus was, but I never took him seriously because like I never had a church hurt, like they call. But it's like, I never knew really like, oh, I thought it was just like someone in a story it's a story like historical. It's there and that's it, I never took him very seriously. But when you go there and you don't know that, it's very easy to be like, people are going to be deceitful towards you. It's very oppressing. You're just a product, basically. This is you and this is a price and that's it. So when you do that for a certain period of time, you associate your value to an amount. And this is very detrimental for your brain and as a person. Like this is something that honestly, like it took me a long time to recover from it. Very, very long time. So yeah, I went back. I would say like when I quit, actually what happened is I fell in love with someone. That person came, he was a friend of a friend, and he's like, can I have your number? And I would never do that in circumstances like that because I just didn't trust anyone. But a voice inside of me said, you can trust him. So I gave him my number and we actually fell in love. And I was still like in that same space, right? I was still like in dancing and all these things. And I met him, I think I was like 19, 20, maybe a year after that. And I would say like, he was sent from God because like this person, I loved him so much that my love for him made me change that. Like, I wanted to be out. I wanted to have a healthy life because he showed me that I'm so much more than what I thought I was worth because of my childhood. And, when you live in violence, when someone molests you, the way you see yourself is very downgrading little by little to a point where it's like you don't really have an identity anymore. But yeah, so what happened is I met him and we were together. I would stay where I was at. I would still like dance and all these things. And I remember one night I was like, I went very far. I didn't want to be around my house because I didn't want people to know, I was still ashamed of it. Like the guilt and the shame, like it never went away because the enemy, what he's going to do is you're going to go there. Oh, you're going to make the money and all these things. But after that, what you hear in your head is like, you're just worth that. Who's going to accept you after that? Who's going to love you after that? So it's very harsh what you hear in your brain and what you associate with because of where you are in life, especially in a place like this, right? So what happened is I remember I went very far for a weekend. And before that, I think 2 weeks before, I applied at a job, and it's a good paying job. It's very stable. I mean, like, I'm not going to say the area because I don't want any problem because they never knew. I didn't look like it. But I applied for it and I never had to come back. So that's when I was like, you know what? That's it. I need to go far away, just make my money and leave, like I need something. And so I went far. And what happened there at that club, there's girls that were there and they were like, oh, do you want a vitamin? Like, you look tired and all these things. And I'm like, yeah, sure, And that's when I realized that they gave me drugs. And I was like, okay, like I was panicking because this is something that I never took. Like, this is something that I don't know. And I panicked. I was like, I don't know what to do. So at that time, I text my boyfriend and I'm like, I'm so tired. And when I say tired, it's not, when you wake up in the morning and you're tired. It's a tiredness where you feel empty to your core, where it's like you're just dead inside and there's not even 1 ounce of light that is going to bring you out of there. And I remember that night when this happened, I went outside because I needed fresh air. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is too much. Like, at one point I didn't want to live. I was like, I'm tired. If this is going to be my life, I don't want it. And so I looked at this guy and I didn't say Jesus because I didn't know him, but I was like, if there's anyone here right now, I want to go home. I want peace. I want to be out of here. Bring me out of here. I am tired. And I went back and I heard a voice like, go play in the machine. So for the little money that I had on me, and it's so like, when I look back, I'm like, that would have been a mess, but I followed it. And what happened is I made $10,000 from that machine, and not one shot. I would like put a $20, $100, and I would make $2,000-$3,000 just coming like this. And after that, I would stop, and another person would sit at the machine and would put a lot of money and never win $1. So I would take another $20 when I heard like, hey, just go play in the machine. I would put another $20, another $4,000, and it's coming like this. And everyone that sits in the machine doesn't win. And as soon as I just go there and I put like between $20 to $100, and this is money that I won, I'm getting more. And at one point, the owner of the bar was like, that's it. I need to close this machine because at this point I made $10,000, right? And that was the same because I left for 2 days. So that was the night before and the day after. So a 24-hour period that I made that $10,000 out of the machine. I didn't even work. I didn't even test. I did nothing. I made the money there. And that's when I called my boyfriend and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I made that much money. I want to go home, but they don't want to let me go. They don't want. I had to stay there. And that's when I look at the guy and say, how much do you want for me to leave? I don't want to stay. Because at one point I'm crying. I'm tired. I just want to go home. And my boyfriend is just like, come back home. That's it. Like, take the money and leave, And he's like, be careful when you go to the house and you go to your car. So no one just take anything from you, because it's people, they saw that I made money, right? And so he didn't want to let me go. So he ended up saying, well, when you play machine, then you have to give something, but it's not true. And again, I was kind of like, not naive, but a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, when you win machine, you need to give a tip. And I'm like, how much do you want? I want to leave. I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. And he's like, well, how much do you think you should give me for that? And I ended up giving $2,000. $2,000 to be able to leave that place. But I don't regret it, because that money came from him. And I know for a fact, because that same night that I cried out and I was like, I can't anymore. Like at this point, I didn't want to live. I took the money and I went home. And that's when I came back, the job I applied for called me back to tell me that the interview that I passed 2 weeks before, they hire me. So I'm like, okay. I leave there because I have no news from the interview. I cried out. Like I said, I don't know if someone listened to me, but I want to go home. I want to be safe. I don't want to be here anymore. I received that amount of money. And the minute I come back home the next day, I'm telling that I'm hired for that job. And I'm like, this is your chance. Get out. Like, it's over. So I started to do my job. I'm still in the same field for the past 7 years. I was able to grow from it. And that's when I would say I started to do yoga. I was very much into it because I thought it was the universe. When I cried out and all these things, in my head, it was like, it's a universe. It's not God. So what happened after that is I was still with my boyfriend and we split at one point because I had a lot of hurt that came from that area of my life, that time of my life. And I was just not well. I had to very rebuild myself from the floor. I was very down. People didn't very see it because I'm good at hiding, the emotion, because when you're in the field like this, that's the first thing that you do is basically hide who you are. So if you build an identity, you don't have an identity on your own. And so we separated and it was a very dark time. But that was okay. I tried to just rebuild myself as a person. And I would say after 5 years, I was still like doing yoga and all these things. But at one point I stopped. And that's when I met the father of my child. And it was, again, a toxic relationship. Like my previous relationship that I had in the past, apart from the person that I really loved, the one before, again, they were violent towards me physically, a lot of insult, let's say relationship wise, even that was a mess. So when I met him, I got pregnant, and it didn't take a long time that the same pattern from my previous relationship started. So I would be insulted, even though my life changed from A to Z. But I wanted to be honest with this person about my past because you never know who you're gonna meet, right? And that was my biggest mistake because after that, it became very violent physically, emotionally, mentally. To a point that when I was pregnant, I remember I was like, I just can't do this anymore. But I stayed for the sake of my family because he wanted to do therapy. So I was like, okay, whatever. It stopped. It continued with the abuse. And this is something that I thought was normal because my whole life I've been in violence and people that hurt you. And this is a form of love, like when they hurt you, you want them to love you back the way they gave you that love. So you kind of just like little yourself, I would say. And I remember I gave birth and it became sweet, the honeymoon phase when you have a baby and it's like everyone is like happy but it's a very short time because after that, when you have a newborn, it's not easy. I don't know if you have kids, but it's hard, right? You don't sleep, all these things. And I remember that's when it became physical again, but this time in front of my daughter. And that's when I said, that's it. Like, I took my daughter and I left. And I didn't went back after that because what happened is I had depression postpartum and I wanted to take my life. I was like, because he was insulting me so much to a point that I was not even able to look at myself in the mirror without crying. So I would take like towels and hide the mirror in the house because I was feeling ashamed of myself. And, oh, sorry. Yeah, it was very hard. I promised myself I'm not gonna cry. um, yeah, and I remember we went to the doctor and he said to her, maybe she just need air, And that's when she looked at him and she's like, it's not just air that she needs. She's about to commit suicide. And they gave me pills, and it was a dark moment in my life because I was reminded of my past all the time, even though I changed. And when someone bring your past like this, the only thing you can remember is who you were that time because you were hurt. You are not yourself anymore. So what happened is after that, that's when I really started doing yoga. And people think that Christians should do yoga. No, we shouldn't. And I'm going to explain why. When I was doing yoga, you're very much the center of your own universe. I would say you're your own God, like you do the inner child healing and all these things. And honestly, life were never meant to put that much burden and loads on your shoulder. God didn't create the world like this. God created the world where, yes, you're going to be a sinner. You're going to do your mistake. But the burden, everything that you have, they were meant to give it to Him so you can breathe a little bit. And this is when I realized that, okay, yoga at that time was feeling good. That's when I went into New Age full force. So after that, when I separated, that's when I started to do hypnosis. So what it does, it's you kind of hypnose people and you bring them to their past life. And it works. It really works. I mean, like it's a course from Dolores Cannon. And it works. I mean, I did it on people. It works very well. But I would say this is very demonic. Like, don't even go there because what you do is basically you bring them in their past life, and after that you bring entity on yourself, and you don't even know that because you don't know what you're calling on, right? And I would say everything that during that time I would continue to do yoga. And I would very much into that, tarot cards, Reiki. It was very intense. Like I was like very much into it because I was like, oh my God, that feels great at the beginning. This is again, it's like an iceberg. It's the surface level, very sugarcoat. That's what I would say. It's very sugarcoat. It looks amazing. You feel great. But the deeper you go, that's when problems start. Because you're like, you feel that, oh, I felt great today. now I feel down a little bit. So that means maybe a chakra is not very aligned. So you need to go deeper again. And this is a big problem because I would say yoga is very much about the community. So, when you do the chant Om or all these things, you connect with people around you. So basically what you do is you give them your energy and they give you their energy. So you can give and take, or you can just receive, or you can just give. So you accept everything that people are sending to you inside of you because you're opening everything that is like aligned inside of you. It's when you look at it this way, it's like you are accepting something that you cannot see and that you can't even see if this is good. So when I did that during that time, that's when I was like, okay, I was very I felt great. Oh, I can work on myself. I don't need anyone else. I am my own God, it's me and I can do everything on my own. I'm independent. I would say that was the biggest mistake that I did, was to move forward into this, because it didn't take a long time that I did that, to be very honest. Because what happened is I sold my previous condo when I separated to buy bigger for my daughter, because I wanted her to have her room and I wanted her to have her space and just be very good, right? So I sold everything that I purchased when I was 23 years old. That's actually what I did with the money because that was very straightforward. I remember when I had that money, I looked at my boyfriend at the time and I said, I don't want you to give me that money unless it's to buy a property. And 5 months after, what happened is I got the job and I was working, right? But the 6-month period of grace period where you know if you have the job or not, 5 months before, that's when I found the condo, and that was before COVID hit. When all the markets started to go crazy and all these things. What happened is I purchased the condo with the money after 6 months and I stayed there. That's when I met the father of my child. After that, I separated and I bought here. So now we are here and I'm still doing yoga and I'm doing Reiki and a new age that is called soul mending. So what soul mending is basically Reiki that you put yourself in a bubble and you're going to go deep inside of you with spirit guide and the entities that you bring inside of you to heal your inner child. It looks very amazing when you talk about it this way, but it is not, I promise you. I'm going to tell you why. You go very deep in the healing process. I would say yes, there are certain things you can do, but the problem with that is you accept demonic things inside of your body. And the more you go deeper, the worse it gets. But you don't see it this way because the way you see it, it's like maybe a deer or like a spirit guide, an animal. So you see it very it's not a demon that you see. It's a spirit guide. It's an animal. So it can be a little lamb that looks very cute. But these are entities that you just use to go search for pieces of your soul that you lost before. So you take a piece of you that you lost. Example, me when I was 6-7 years old, when this happened, you bring them to that little girl and you bring them back with her. So you give yourself away. And what happened is I was in a yoga class and that's the first time I saw Jesus. So I was doing yoga and I was like, okay, I separated, I was in my new place and I was just calm. I was very, okay, I'm healing, I'm doing yoga and all these things. I'm good to go. So I'm in that yoga class and I was like, let me do that soul mending for 5 minutes when you're in a shavasana and you accept and you open your inner self to everything, basically. It's like a portal and it's open. So I did it, and for the first time, I never understood where I went. So I was on the yoga mat and I felt my back hurting. Like someone had whipped me with like knives. My skin was open. I felt physically, I was in so much pain, but my eyes were closed and like I was not seeing anything. I was just like relaxing and I was like, why my back is so painful? Like, and I just accepted that pain. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something I need to see from there that is from my past. And that's when I felt just leaving my body and I came inside of a church. And I was literally wearing what I was wearing in a yoga class. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, it's a big church. It's all white. You see like you know, where the people are sitting and it's like all wood. It's beautiful. It's pure. Like that's the best way I can say it. There's so much light and it's so peaceful in there. And I never felt this way since that day. That day, this is the first time in my entire life that I was feeling that much peace. So I was in pain and I was sitting on the bench and I was in pain and I saw there's a lady next to me and she looked like an angel, you know, with like, you know, the Virgin Mary, what she has. And she's taking holy water and she's just like pressing on my back because I have like thousands of wounds. And I look at her and I say, why am I here? Like, for me, it didn't make any sense. Like before I would go to my little self where she needs healing. And she didn't say one word. She just turned, she looked in front of her, and there's a big cross with Jesus on it. And that's when I look at him in the eyes and I couldn't take off my eyes on him. And I just walk in front of him and I fell on my knees and I cried. And what I heard was like, I died for you on the cross and that's what you're doing. And I was like, please have mercy. I didn't know. I didn't know. I was so being deceitful. I felt shame, guilt. He showed me on that cross the pain that he felt in his back. That was the wound that he felt. And I was like, I betrayed you and I don't deserve to be here. And I'm sorry for that. And I continued to cry. And after that, that's when the guy in the class spoke and it bring me back. And I cried. I was in the class and I was crying, but like, you know, it's so dark, people don't see you. And as they say, oh, we're going to sit and we're going to do the chant Om, I'm like, okay, this time I was not able to sit as like a Buddhist, you know, I had to be on my knees, prayer. Me, I never knew this in my life because for me, it's like, yes, I knew who Jesus was, but salvation, have mercy, all these things, this is not things I know. Like, I never learned from it. So I do it and I sit and I'm not able to do that chant. And as they're doing it, I feel it's so oppressing on me. And it's like a billboard, a black billboard. Imagine someone take their nails and they scratch like this on it. I had shivers up my spine and I could just hear, this is so wrong. This is wrong. Get out. This is wrong. Like, and it was very convicting. Like I had to get out of there. So as soon as it ends, people know me there for like 2-3 years. I mean, like I didn't say one word to no one. I took my yoga mat. I ran outside and I'm in front of my car and I'm about to throw up. And I'm like, the only thing I could hear, it's like, it's okay. It's your salvation. Like everything bad wanted to come out of me. And I was sweating, like not a normal sweat, like I was sick. And I called my boyfriend and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And he's a Christian. He's a Christian. And I'm like, you're not going to believe what happened. I tell him the story and I'm like, I'm going to get sick. I feel dizzy. I feel I'm going to throw up. I'm sweating my life. Like, and it's not a normal sweat. Like, even my face is sweating. And he's like, Veronica, it's okay. Like, this is normal. This is when he said salvation. He's like, do you know what salvation is? And I'm like, no. And that's when he explained it to me. And I'm like, okay. So after that, I go home and for 2 weeks, I was having nightmares. When I said I was not sleeping because I was scared. Something in my room was looking at me. I felt a presence, and it was not a presence that you want to be around. I was scared. I was just scared all the time. And the first week, I was like, you know what? Let me try another sport. Because, like I need to move. I need to do something. I decided to do CrossFit. I never felt so much anger inside of me at all. Like I was like, why am I so angry to go to CrossFit? And I just got my identity of who I was all gone. When you start from fresh, it's basically that, because when God saved you and take out of yourself, a lot of things that are not from Him are going to shed from you. So you need to really look at like who you were before. Forget that person. Yoga, forget it. So I went in that CrossFit and I was so angry, and I was like, you see, I could hear like I should go back to yoga class. At least I knew who I was. I had the control, and that much anger that I felt. And that's when I spoke with my boyfriend, and I'm like, I feel so angry inside. I just want to go back to yoga. At least everything is going to be normal. And he's like, this is the enemy. This is Satan. Don't listen to it. He's angry because he lost someone. Don't go back there. And when this happened, that night when after CrossFit, what happened is, I slept with my daughter in my bedroom, and I woke up the next morning and everything was so cold in the house. And I was like, why it's so cold? Like the only room that has heat is my bedroom. So I go to check for like the breakers, and I'm like, no, everything is okay. Nothing like bounced, like everything is perfect. But it's cold. And I look at where you have the heating pad, and there's no numbers. Like I cannot do anything. It doesn't, like, there's no numbers. The electricity is not in it, but I have electricity in my whole house. And I'm like, why it smells like burnt? I feel like you smell burn inside of my house. So I didn't take much of it. And I just said, you know what? My daughter got up. Let's go daycare. I drop her there. I come back home. And that's when I realized, I said, you know what? Let me do cleaning. And I put music just to calm myself down a little bit, because I didn't sleep much. It was actually the first night that I was able to sleep. Because I had like nightmares and it was just like crazy. And what happened is, as I'm cleaning, I go where I have like my yoga mat and my block. And my block are near my curtains. And they're burned. And when I say burned, they really they melted. My yoga mat and the yoga block melted. But they're on my curtains, and my curtains were never touched. That's when I realized, I said, okay, no, my house almost burned down. I called my boyfriend, and I'm like, you're not going to realize that. I don't believe it myself, but I sent him pictures and I said, look at what happened. Like, that's why everything shut down, and it was so cold. That stopped that fire. And I was like, I can't be here anymore. I was scared. I was scared in my own house. I was taking, as soon as I was taking everything out, everything that is tarot cards, yoga mat, crystals, my lights were flashing inside of my house. I was scared. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I can't. I just can't. Like, this is, I don't sleep. I have nightmares. Like, I'm scared. Like, I'm frightened. And it's not normal that you feel this way inside of your house. And he's like, relax, I'm going to come home tonight. Everything's going to be fine. So he came. I fall asleep for once, peaceful. And that's the first time that I actually had a night terror like this. So I was sleeping, and I don't know how to explain, because maybe some people they're gonna relate to that. But I was in my body, because usually when you dream, you see yourself like outside. It's very rare that you're gonna be inside of your body. But I was inside of my body, and I was in like a place that I don't even know, but it was very dark. And I was like, okay, so I get out of that. I get out of the room, because it looks like not the hospital bed, but it's really like it's a bedroom. So I get out of there, and it's dark, and I see everyone like walking in front of me. And I'm like, what's going on? So I go there and I follow them. And the only thing I could see is like a big door, and people are waiting in line their turn to know on which floor they go. And I'm like, okay, like it's my turn. And so at one point I go and I fall in a pit, and it's dark. And my biggest fear in life is darkness. So the only thing I could hear is laughing and being pushed. Like, they mock you. And they're like, you see, Jesus, you saw him, but he cannot save you. And they're laughing at me, and they're pushing me. And I'm just in my bubble like this. And I try to hide myself. And I'm like, just leave me alone. And they're like, look at me. And I was so scared. I was like, I screamed. And that's when I heard inside of me call my name. And I'm like, Jesus, please come take me. And I just got pulled out. And I was in the sky, and he was next to me. And I was looking down, and it's very weird the way it appeared, because you're very far in the sky, but you see people close. And I could see family member, and I would scream like, call Jesus, like I wanted to help them, just say his name. And he turned to me and he's like, it's too late. And I woke up. I woke up, and I was like, and my daughter was next to me, and she's like, Mama, are you okay? And I was like, what happened? It was so vivid. I was in my body this whole time. I felt everything when they pushed me. And when I woke up, I could feel it on my body, like the way they pushed me, like I could feel every single thing. And that's when I called my boyfriend again, and he's like, you need to talk with the pastor, right? You need to talk with the pastor at the church. I think even my friend, they can help you a little bit more with that. So I didn't make like a big thing out of it. But I just pushed everything aside. And at that time, I didn't really go to the church he told me to. I was in a church where it was more older people. Like it's a Bethel church. So it's not the same way as Deliverance Church, right? So I was going there. At the beginning, it was fine. But I didn't felt it was my place. I felt like I was an outsider, and that if really people knew who I was, I would be judged. And I felt like I was not connecting with people. So I stopped going to the church at that point. After that 2 weeks, I was like, I started a new church, I would say for the summer. And that was in 2023, actually, that all this happened. So for I would say beginning of summer till December, I was like going to that church. And at one point I just stopped. And I was like not going to church anymore. I was not praying. I would say I was doing everything I was doing before. I was just having a normal life. And that's when last year, what happened is I decided to go to the new church after I saw Jesus for the second time. So it was the 6th of December that I was sleeping in my house. And I remember before, the month before, I felt lost a little bit, I would say. I was like, before I used to do yoga, all these things, I thought like I got everything together and that like everything would be perfect, but I was still confused. And I remember I prayed and I was like, I just want to understand, when I go to church, I feel it's like a task and I feel like it's an obligation for me to go there. But I felt like I was betraying Jesus, basically, because I was not going to church. I was not opening my Bible. I was not praying as much. And I was like, I just need a word from you. I just need to understand. And for literally 2 weeks, I was just praying to understand. That's the only thing I wanted, is to understand what makes people, first of all, go to heaven, and what makes people go to hell. And why am I feeling this way inside if I got saved? Like, I was confused. My heart was a lot of conflict in it. And the 6th of December last year, that's when I fell asleep again. And that first time, it was weird because I saw people from yoga. So it's like I was a lifeguard. And I know that is a dream at the beginning, but we will get there, because I was like, something shift during the night. Something like pulled me out of there. So I was a lifeguard, and I remember I was on the coast, on the sea, and there's a big rock in front, and it's very far, and the sea is like separated in two. And where you have the rock, the sea are like colliding like this, but one part is blue and one part is green. So where we are is where you have no shark and nothing can hurt you, basically. And as soon as you cross that rock, this is dangerous. Like, you have only sharks, you're going to get bitten, you can go there. And so I'm with actually a girl in my yoga class. I'm dreaming this. She's right in front of me, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And she's like, how about, guys, we play a game and we try to cross it and see if it's very dangerous? I was like, okay. So we go there, and I'm like, something is not right. And that's when I realized, like, she's in the water, because we go and we cross that water. She's in the water and she doesn't get bitten. And she looked at me in the eyes and she's like, be careful, because if you go in the water, you're gonna get bitten. And I'm like, wait a second, like, this does not make sense. And she's like, oh, and by the way, there's a lamb that is on the rock right there, but you need to cross the water because she got bit by a shark and people let her there to die. And I'm like, okay. And at that moment, that's when everything shifted. Like, I was like very conscious of what was going on. So inside of my heart, I was like, I cannot let her there. I have to go see. So I take like a sea-doo boat and I just go and I see her. There's blood everywhere and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what happened to you? And you could see it was a very long time she was there. It was like literally a lamb. Like, it's not a baby. I would say it's a sheep, but a smaller sheep, And I'm like, what happened to you, So I just pull her up. And as soon as I pull her up and I start walking to the boat to bring her back, there's a huge portal that opened and it's big. And I'm like, wait a second. And what I see inside, it's like hell. And she goes in it with me. It's like the way I would describe it, it's very rogues. I would say it's like, the volcano, what they have, like the dark, when it like it dries and all these things. I would say it's really that. It's a rock, it's very dark, and there's lava around, and it's a very narrow road. And so what happened is I was like, I don't know why, I was in my body during that time. I look at her and I didn't even feel scared. Usually I would feel scared. I would like not go there. I would wake up. But I was so conscious in my body that I was like, okay, she wants to, I'll follow her. And as soon as I cross, everything closed behind me. And I turn and Jesus is there. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And he's like, I just want to say thank you for bringing the sheep back to me. And I said, okay. He's like, I give you two choices. He's like, you can come with me. And I know you have questions. You've been praying for it. It's a 2 hours walk because we need to go down that route, and after that we go to heaven. But if you come with me, you need to leave your old life behind. And in that moment when he said that, the only thing I could remember is my daughter, my life that I have right now, passing inside of my head. Like, if I follow him, I have to leave everything behind, or I can go back to my old life and leave. He's like, but it's a 2 hours walk. I'm like, 2 hours? This is so long. Like, it made me doubt a little bit, right? But I was like, you know what? I'll come with you. I'll come with you. And he's like, so I heard you have question for me. You want to understand. And when he said that, I was like, well, yes, I want to understand. Like, I have so many questions. Like, and I just try to understand, like, what makes people go to heaven and go to hell, like all these things, like what makes us worthy of being with you, because I've been falling short. And he's like, okay, he's like, Veronica, what do you think makes people go to heaven and hell? He asked me that question, and I'm like, well, I believe it's like what we do in life. I mean, like, the good deed that we do, because that's what the church does. But I feel there's conflict inside of my heart when it comes to that, because I feel there's something more. And he's like, okay, so what do you think? I said, well, the best example I could give you is when I go to church, my heart is not there. And he's like, exactly. He's like, you just said it. It's not about what you do, good deeds and all these things. He's like, yes, this is important, but is your heart with me? Do you believe and have faith in me? Do I have your heart fully? And that's when I realized that God wants our heart. He wants us to love him so much that we are able to lay our life down the same way as he did for us. And he's like, when we get to the door, because we're walking during that time, and we come in front of big doors. It's like 2 big doors, and there is 2 square on the floor where people stand on it. So you stand on your square, and if it comes orange, you go to hell. If it's blue, you go to heaven. And as we're there, that's when he turned to me and he's like, you know, when you do something for someone because you want to have something out of it, this is where it's a problem. When you do something in life and you put your heart and you don't expect anything in return. So that means when you come to me with your heart and you don't expect me to give you something in return, that's when you do something with your heart. And that's the best example he could have given me. When you do something good for someone in life and you do it because you expect that they're going to give you back that favor, instead of doing it because you love them and you don't expect anything in return, this is who Christ is. Do you go to church because you expect him to give you a blessing or more money? Or you go there because you want to spend time with him and you love him? And when he said that, that's when I saw the light coming. And I would say kids, but not, they were very young. They were around the age of my daughter. I would say like they're toddlers. Toddlers, blue, goes right, heaven, no question. They're very innocent. And people in the orange, mostly adult that I saw, if they didn't believe in Christ, straight to hell. Like there is no question about that. If you don't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and the only way, you're not going to heaven. You just don't. Your heart is not there. If you give your life and your heart to Christ, and you believe that he died on the cross for your sin and he resurrected and he paid the price, if you know in your heart and you love him like this, and it's true. Yes, you can do good deeds and all these things, but he wants your heart most and for all. And that's when after that we go like in kind of the stairs, and it's like the cloud, where you have heaven. And I'm ready to go with him because I forget my life. I gave him my life again. And he's like, I just want to say thank you for bringing me back my sheep again. She was lost and she needed you. He's like, and I wanted to see if you would live your life for me, but you can go back to your life now. And I just came back in my body and I fell like I just left. Like I was breathing so fast when I woke up. My daughter was like, Mama, you okay? And I'm like, yes. And I was like, wow. Like, I was like, I couldn't believe. And the rest I felt when I woke up, it's like I had so much energy. When I was with him, I was not even scared. No matter what happened around me, I felt so peaceful. I felt so protected. Like the peace that he brings inside of you and the way he talks, it's very short sentences, but it's such the truth that you cannot deny it. And when I woke up, I called my boyfriend and I'm like, you're not gonna believe this. I explained the story again. And he's like, wait a second. He's like, don't you think it's Satan that is talking to you? And that's when he's like, wait, let me call the deacon in the church where I go now. And I called him and I explained the situation and I said, look, you're not going to believe this. It was so vivid. I remember every single thing. I feel everything. I can tell you the conversation again and again and again. It's there. Like it. And he's like, okay, so what happened? I explained the story again. And he's like, Ronica, go there in your Bible. Go there in your Bible. Go there in your Bible. He's like, you saw Jesus and what he told you is the truth. I have shivers just talking about it. He's like, what he said is the truth. Yes, you can go to church and do all these things, but do you really love him with your full heart and believe that he is the only way? And that's when I was like, okay. And he's like, is it okay if I talk with the pastor and you come to church? And I remember I say, of course. So I went to that church with my daughter. And it's a deliverance church, King Jesus Compassion. I love that place. I mean, I love it. People don't judge and everyone knows everything about everyone. And I went there with my daughter and I didn't have any expectation. I just, a Sunday, let's go there. It's at night, around 7. So I go there and the pastor doesn't know me. He doesn't know my past. He doesn't know anything about my life. Like, he never saw me. He doesn't know who I am. So I go there and the pastor is like, Veronica. He's like, do you remember when you were young and how you never had that love for from your mother and that no one like ever gave you that love and you were scared when you were pregnant because you were scared that the same thing is going to repeat itself because it's been generations of women like this and that you are longing for that healthy love, that unconditional love. He's like, I want to tell you that all this is in your past and that whatever you felt happened with your mother, the love that she couldn't give you, your daughter is never gonna have that same life because of you. And everything that you lost since your youth up today is gonna be rebuilt and God is gonna give you 10 times what you lost. Everything. And he's like, I'm not done. Do you remember when you were pregnant? You were scared. I was like, yeah, I was scared. You were scared because you're like, how am I going to do that? I'm alone with a kid. Like, I'm in a worse situation. Like, he's like, but the Lord want me to tell you to not be afraid. No one, but I'm so scared that my daughter is going to have the same life as me. That's my biggest fear. And he's like, I want to tell you what the Lord is telling me right now is do not be afraid because no one is going to take your daughter away from you. And she's never going to have the same life as you because of you. You're doing the change. And I cried when he said that. And my daughter came and she looked at me and she was like just in front of me and she wanted to be in my arms. And she came and she put her forehead and her nose on mine and she closed her eyes and she just hugged me. And I just heard, it's gonna be okay. And I just cried so much. And I felt something lifting off of me. For the first time, I felt like I could rest. I felt something so powerful, just all the oppression that I had on me, all the trauma, everything was just coming out. And I cried so much and everyone came to me and my friend were there and they're like, she's gonna be okay. And that pastor doesn't know my life and he doesn't know what's my biggest fear about my daughter. And he tells me what I'm the most scared of and that no one is gonna take her away from me. And I was like, that's my church. And when I spoke with my boyfriend at the time, he was like, are you not sure that it's like Satan or something? So he called his friend and he's like, no, that's the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit showed the pastor the life of Veronica. He didn't know me and he knew everything that I went through. And I was like, how is this possible? And he actually he cut the curse that was in my family because all the women in my family have the same problem. We met a guy that is very violent, went up with a baby alone, a lot of violence. So that was something that I was so scared of, right? And I always promised myself that if I have a daughter or a son, he's never going to live like this. I'll move mountains and earth for him or her. And that's what I do with my daughter. I do everything just to make sure that she's not going to get the same path as me. And actually, my daughter, she's the one that bring me to the Lord. She's only 3 years old and she's going to look at me sometime and she's going to say, Mama, we pray. And I'm like, okay. So before lunch, every time we eat, even if we're in a restaurant, before bed, Mama, Jesus. I'm like, okay, so we pray. And that's when I realized that this church is much more than just a church. It's a church that everything you think is too much for you, they're going to help you shed it with the help of the Lord. And that's what he did with me because after that day, everything changed. After that day, I was like, it's like money was coming in, like all the goodness that God had for me was coming into my life. And I felt that I could breathe. My entire life, I felt like, when you can't take your full breath and something is just very like heavy on you. For the first time, I was like, I can breathe and I can actually I can relax. And he really helped me to lift that. And that's when I realized, I said, what can I do as a woman and as a mother to make sure that no women go through what I went through and to make sure that my daughter continue to follow the Lord. And that's when I wrote my first book for children. And it's a series and it's based on my daughter. My daughter is the main character. And I want her to have something that she's going to relate to. That she's going to, like, she knows it's her book and she knows it's her, it's Jesus. There's a little lamb. And that this is a series that I do with story of the Bible, but in a very comprehensive way for toddlers. So they understand. And there's question that the toddler is going to ask Jesus that he is going to answer, but it's meaningful questions because I want her not to listen at what she's seeing, because let's be honest, right now, the world is kind of a bit a mess. But I want her to have something where she can ground herself and say, no, this is the truth. And I will follow that. And not just a big Bible where she just needs to read all these things. I wanted something that she just can connect with, that has beautiful image. So that's when I started to do that. And she knows it's her book. I mean, she see it. And since then, I would say like my life has been very calm. And I would say the Lord had blessed me even more with money. Really, like everything I thought I lost in the past, He has given so much more. And that's why I'm starting the podcast. And that's actually my first step, because when I got baptized in February, that's the first time my pastor was like, I want you to tell your story to the church. And there's hundreds of people there. For the first time, I spoke about my past, but my past, I just wanted to hide it because I hated that girl. I hated myself for doing it, and I felt shame and guilt. And I remember during that baptism, I was shaking, and I felt the heat coming off of me. I was crying, and everyone was like, it's okay. And I was like, people are going to judge me. And I couldn't even talk by myself. And I remember I sat down and I was like, Holy Spirit, fill me. Like, I can do this on my own. I'm scared. I never thought I was going to talk about my previous life, because it's like, skeleton in the closet. Like, you just leave them there and you never take them out. And I don't remember what I said during that time when I speak, because I blacked out. Like, I couldn't, it's like words were coming out of my mouth, but I was not realizing what I was saying. But I was talking about my experience and everything was recorded. And I felt like I was shaking. No one could hear me because I was crying. And everyone was like, what are you talking about? Everything was fine. And so I got baptism. I did it. And after that, that's when I thought that everything would be fine, because 2-3 days before my baptism, I was very shaky. I had a hard time to sleep, and I could hear negative things like, even if you get baptism, you're not going to change your past. You're still going to be the same. You're still going to be nasty. This is Satan. Like, when this is not love. Love is from God. If you hear a good thought, this is from God. When it's nasty like this, it's not from God. I can assure you that this is not how God talks. And I told that to my pastor and everyone that was getting baptized that day. The 3 girls that we were, they're like, Veronica, you don't understand the nightmare that I had. Like, everyone was getting attacked. And so I got baptized. And after that, what we do at church, and I really like it, I'm very involved in that church because I love it so much and I want to help as much people as I can. We do prayers. So it's prayer night where 3 nights a week, we gather together as a church and we pray for people, even people we don't know around the world, for sickness, all these things, like really all of them. And as we pray, I could see a vision of myself back in that club with my Bible, helping girls getting out of there. And I'm like, okay, what you want me to do with that? I mean, I don't know the Bible that much. I'm still a baby Christian at the end of the day. And so I talked with the best friend of my boyfriend, and he's like, Veronica, that's really good. Like, when the first time you came to church and the pastor told me, you're gonna help a lot of women in your life, I never understood what he meant by that. But that's when I realized that's what he's talking about. When he talk about the woman that where I was, in that same place where it's very destructive. And I was like, okay, so when I spoke about it that night with him, good Lord, I went to sleep and I was very peaceful because we prayed. And I felt like I left my body, and I was in my body. Like I was inside of me. And I was in that club and it was red all over me. And the door to get out of that club, it's blocked with like huge door, but it's not wood door. it's like iron doors. Like you see, like, in the prison, it's blocked. And I feel the oppression on me, and it's very heavy, and there's like fuming around me. And I'm like, why am I here? Like, what's going on? Satan was in front of me. And he's like, you see? He's like, you're mine. You can get out of here. You gave me your soul when you were there. And I started to run and just trying to get out. And he started laughing, and he's like, you see, you can call Jesus. And when I was there, I tried to call the Lord, but I couldn't speak. It's like something was suffocating me. Because I know when you call Jesus, like, he's right there. And he's like, he doesn't hear you. You can't call him anymore. And he tried to come and grab me by the neck like this. And I just saw a broom next to me. I took it and I slapped him in the face with it. And I woke up and it was 4 a.m. And I was sweating, and I felt like on my body when he touched me, I was like, I couldn't breathe, and I was so scared. Like right after my baptism, maybe like 2-3 days, and I was so scared. And that night, the next night, we have our meeting with the pastor. And he's like, Veronica, are you okay? And I didn't talk. Like, he's like, Veronica, you have something. And that's when I cried. And I was like, when we prayed the other night, I spoke with Ernie about it, the vision that I had. When you told me I'm going to help so many women? And he's like, I said, this is what I saw. And yesterday, for the first time, I got touched by Satan. And I couldn't get out of there. I was in the pit of hell, and he was laughing at me and saying that I'm still his and that Jesus is not going to save me. And he's like, he got super mad, and he's like, why did anyone don't pray for the new baptism, like the baptism that we do, like the new baptized, because it's very important. And he's like, that's when the guy spoke with the best friend of my boyfriend when I said, he's like, when you told me that, because now it's someone knows it, Satan knew it. So he doesn't want you to go there, because it's like, he explained to me, the pastor is like, the mafia, when they have like a part of the city and you have another one and you try to go take from them. He's like, that's a little bit the same thing. You are going in a place where Satan has control and girls are selling their soul, and you try to get them out of there. He's going to attack you. He doesn't want that. And I was like, okay. And he's like, now we need to work with you, because what you have to do is very important, but we need to make sure that if you do it, you're equipped, because this is something that you can do on your own. And the church is behind you with that, because it's a deliverance church. And he's like, if we need to have 1,000 girls here, we will have 1,000 girls here. But this needs to change. And we need to bring a lot of people back to the Lord. And if that's what he calls you to do, that's what you're going to do. And that's when he said, like, with you, he's like, if you saw it and you're good to go, and you talk about it for the first time and it opens people's eye and it brings people in, then you should do it, because this is very important. And actually, honestly, it's been 2-3 days that I was coming close to that date today, and I am exhausted because I barely slept. I had a lot of night sleep paralysis, and I spoke with my pastor this morning, and I said, look, I was bringing me back where I was getting raped, all these things, and it was nasty. And he's like, we need to start praying for you and start really equipping you, because now your word is going to get out today. And at one point I was so tired that I was like, I think I'm just going to reschedule. But my pastor was like, no, Veronica, you need to do it. I know you're tired, but this is for a reason. And when Satan knows where you're going and what you're about to do, and it's playing with his plan, he's going to do everything to stop you. And that's when my pastor said, when a Christian is very tired, he's very weak. So Satan is not going to attack you financial, all these things. He's going to attack you with your sleep, because when you're tired, you can't function. You don't have the strength. So I would say this is my story. I almost rescheduled, but I still did it. My pastor pulled me forward.
Hey, want to hear raw supernatural conversations with people who call me every single day, sometimes weeks or even months before they share their story on the show? Up until now, I've kept those early calls tucked away on the hard drive, but now I'm finally sharing them with members as a small thank you for supporting this podcast. And that's just one of the perks. You'll also get to join me live on future interviews. You'll get to listen in and even ask questions at the end. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Hit that join button below or head to godsvoiceday.com/join for more information. And now let's get back to the show. Wow. Veronica, thank God for godly people like your pastor, right? They can mentor you. Thank God for godly churches, for godly people. And when I think about your testimony, your story, what's that saying? It's not about how you start your race, it's how you finish your race. Wow, what a finish. Everything that you went through, it almost should be like a movie. But it's interesting as we circle back to like what opened the doors to all of that. You were molested from a very young age. Your mom brought those tarot cards. That was kind of like the opening, right? That kind of started you on this path to darkness. And I'm curious about your mom. Is she a follower of Christ now? Is she still around?
My mom is around. I would say that my mom was violent with us when she separated from my dad. I love my dad so much. He's such a good person. But my mom was alone. She had a lot of trauma herself. She lived in violence. She herself got molested. So, and this has been generations that it's like that, women in my family a lot. So I'm not mad at her for that, but she's not close to the Lord because, let's be honest, for me, a lot of people don't agree with me because when you're a follower of Christ, you're a follower. You have the 2 foot in. You don't have a foot out and a foot in. So sin is sin. You need to get rid of this. You need to repent. You need to follow the Bible and all these things. So for her, she's not really with Christ because she feels that it's very like in a cage and it's like there's too much restriction. But I don't think it's too much restriction because when you sin, and you sin, you feel dead inside. You feel that disconnection from God. Because when you sin, you lose your way towards God. You turn your back on Him. So that's why she doesn't really follow it because she feels it's too strict. But as a parent, if you have kids, you don't want, you want them to know what's right and wrong, and there's consequences for that. So.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, Veronica. Every day I take, I don't know, maybe like 6+ phone calls. And it's interesting. Like if I had to pick like 1 or 2 things that opens the doors to a lot of spiritual, not good encounters, evil encounters, right? And it's usually molestation, tarot cards, like those things that happen early on in people's lives. And then the third one, stuff that carries over like in the bloodline kind of thing. But it's interesting. I think you said at one point that, kind of like the curse stops as you, right? You're the one that stopped it for your family. It stops with you. It carried on in your family, but you made a conscious decision. You fought the fight, and now your daughter will have a better life because you decided, you made a choice that it stops with me. And I'm proud of you. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yes, no, and it's very important to be aware of that. And this is when I realized because I listen a lot of YouTube video about people that got saved. And I would say the most common thing I see is people that lived in violence from a very young age and have a lot of trauma and never had an easy life. Like it was because it's very easy for the devil to attack kids, right? Because they're innocent. So first of all, when you get molested, we take your innocence away from you. And that involves a lot of things. So I think that's why now when I look at the world, a lot of school are touched by certain things. I know it's still social media and not a lot of people are not going to agree, but they bring people inside school to read a book, and I'm going to say drag queens, to read a book for kids and saying that, oh, it's okay if you want to change sex. I mean, we are far, you know, we are very, very far. And we are, I think, in a time where as parents, it's our duty to protect our children and to teach them that no, like you don't have the conscience for that. And when you're going to get ready, you can make your decision. But now it's getting to the children. And I really have a hard time for that. And that's why for me, this is when I realized not a long time ago, I said, as a mother, how can I make sure that my daughter and other kids around don't fall into that and know the truth and the right way? And that's when I decided to write that children book. It's a series. It's the first book I made. It's the Garden of Eden, how sin entered the world. And I want her to understand that this is not something you play with. And I'm going to be very open with my daughter, and I'm going to tell her my life. I'm not going to be like most parents, hiding myself. I'm going to tell her, look, this is what mama went through, and this is the consequences of that. And I want you to be very aware, and I want to protect her from this, because now it's very, I would say the world is very sexualized, even more than before. Now it's getting further more than before.
You know, it's interesting. You said you wrote a book to protect your children, and the main motivation for this show for me was to show my children that the spiritual world is so real and alive. Like that's why I started this podcast. Not the main one, but it influenced me. Like like I've created this so years later they can watch and they can see that the spiritual world is real. The enemy is alive and he's after you, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
You were talking about children, the vulnerable ones, right? That he goes after those that are weak. But my gosh, I couldn't help but think about the yoga classes. Like I've heard of churches doing yoga inside of churches. And, they say it's harmless. But listening to your story, man, it's like a portal to the spirit world.
It is, because everything is connected. You have the third eye, the heart, and every position that you do in a yoga class is to worship a God, the God of the sun, the God of this, the God of that. And there's thousands of God, like thousands of gods. It's bigger than you can think. And the Bible say it very strict. You shall not worship another God but me.
Well, and you said the whole, I think you made an example. I can't remember exactly what that was called, but like giving energy to each other. I could help but think.
The chant. Yes, the chant.
So was it energy or was it just passing demons to each other, right?
Passing demons, literally. It's like the best example I can give. Like, and I tried to go back to that yoga class. Me, when something like that happened, I tried to understand. And the same thing when I went in that bar. I was like, let me go and just see how I feel after all that. And it's very, like, it's so heavy that it's like it wants to smash you on the floor. When I went into that club, I can't breathe. It's like I have small breath and everything is so dense and very like suffocating. And the smell inside, I was like, I can't believe I didn't smell that. It's the same thing for the yoga. It's when you hear the chant and especially when you're a Christian, the best thing I can ask you to do is close your eyes, don't do the chant, sit like in a prayer and breathe and ask the Lord to protect you. And you're going to feel the energy it comes towards you, and it's very oppressing. It's suffocating, and it's to a point that your skin, everything is going to crawl on your skin because it's very intense. It's not when you do the chant it's to connect with everyone and everything that is around you. So, I mean, like it's so much deeper than that. And I still have friends that do yoga, And when I talk about Jesus, let me tell you, they get so angry. Like, really angry.
Something else you were talking about during this whole yoga experience, when you came out, you were just throwing everything up. So was that like your deliverance moment? Were you
Yeah.
being cleansed from all these spirits that entered you during yoga?
Yes. Because when I went out, I was like, literally my face was sweating, I went out and I was in the bathroom, so I was not sweating from that yoga class. But when I went outside, when you have the flu and you feel so sick and you're sweating your life, my clothes were like, and I changed, my clothes were like wet, and I was like, I'm gonna throw up, I'm gonna get sick. I feel so much dizziness around me. And my boyfriend was like, it's okay, relax. Like, now it's because it's clean, it's cleansing. Because when the Lord save you, first of all, he's not gonna give you a timeline of when he's gonna save you. Like when he comes to you, he comes to you on his timeline, and it's gonna shake you to a point that you cannot deny him, and you have no choice but to let go of what you knew. There's a separation that is made. I don't know how to explain it, but I was not able to go back to that class because I saw for what it was. Like, he's blocking it.
Wow. Powerful. And I'm thinking about your encounter with Jesus and what he said. It's not about what you do. It's, I think you said something like, is your heart with me? Do you believe and have faith in me? Wow. Just the idea of like, man, it's not about doing the thing. Is your heart fully in it?
Exactly.
Do I have your heart, right?
I want your heart. That's it. Like, I want your heart. I want your heart fully. And this is when I realized that the first example I can give is, when you do something nice for someone, do you do it because inside of you expect something in return? Or you do it because you really love them and you want to help? And that makes a huge difference. And that's the best example I can give. The way Jesus showed me is, I want your heart. Yes, you go to church and do all these things. It's important. But do I have you fully? Are you able to give me your life the same way I gave my life for you? And if the answer is yes, then what the Bible say that what you need to do and what you need to follow in terms of like even clothing and all these things, then it's not like you're gonna do it without question, because you know the truth and you're ready to give, because first of all, this is the temple of God. So you're ready to give up everything that it's the flesh that wanted, and it's worldly, for the Lord. And when you're truly in it, you're gonna do it without a question. You're not gonna feel the conflict inside of you. It's gonna be very convicting. And this is what I have to do.
Unconditional love with no strings attached.
Exactly.
When you're talking about that, I thought of Operation Christmas Child. I'm going to plug them in here. So when I was 9 years old, I received one of those shoe boxes from Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Child.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know much about them. People pack them from all over, from first world countries. They ship them out, and to people third world countries, and they pray over these shoe boxes, and the gospel comes to these shoe boxes. But to me, when I received one, and like years later, just processing that, like somebody did something so nice for a stranger that they'll never meet, right? That unconditional love that you show to somebody that you can't even see them opening that gift. And, sometimes we get gifts for people because we want to see the reaction. Like, it's almost like a selfish thing. You just want them to react, and you're like, just taking that in, like, yes, I did something nice. And I mean, which is great. But when somebody, like, for example, with the shoe boxes, which was always interesting to me, that they did something so nice for somebody they'll never meet, and they'll never see them opening their shoe boxes. So unconditional love with no strings attached. Powerful. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. It's that kind of love, man. If you practice that kind of love, giving without making a big deal about, that you're helping somebody without everybody else knowing that you're helping. It's powerful.
But the Bible talk about that too. When you're fasting or you're doing good, like you volunteer in something, and you just share it because you want the applause of the world, this is wrong. Because it's like you try to have like, the attention of people and, oh, look how nice she is. But the Lord, when you do it like, and you're quiet about it, this is when He's going to look at it from another perspective, because you don't look at being like rewarded for that. You do it because you want to do it, and you could care less about what the world think. And I think this is, if the world would give the same love as Christ is giving us love, it would be so much better. And let's talk about the Christian community. I mean, I see Christians judging other Christians. Why are we doing that? Like, everyone has a walk. First of all, Christ came on earth to save sinners, not people that are like lamb, white, all these. He came to save sinners. And you sin in your life, I sin in my life. So for me, I wish the Christian community would come together without judgment and love each other the same way Christ loved us. Because the minute we're going to do that, this is when things are going to start to change. And that's why, for me, as a Christian person, if someone is mean to me, I'm going to pray for them, because this is not the way Christ wants people to behave. And that means there's something missing inside of them. And I hope they're going to find it with Christ, because when you're a follower of Christ, you follow what He's saying and love your enemies. Love all the time. Don't use vengeance, and don't try to hurt people that hurt you. And the best way my pastor told me, he's like, Ronica, you know when someone hurt you? And I'm like, yes. He's like, close your eyes and imagine it's a demon. This is not the real person, because if they were really someone from Christ, they wouldn't hurt you. Imagine it's not them. There's a demon, something inside that is nasty towards you because of something. So when you detach the person from their character, the way they treat you, it's very easy to just let it go and just pray for them, because you know it's not them. It's something behind it.
You have a great pastor. Sounds like
yes, I love it.
Very wise.
He's very wise. And like he said, like he's so welcoming to everyone. I mean, my church is something that I'm going to talk a lot in my podcast, because I want people to come in a church, first of all, that is alive, on fire for Jesus. But not only that, that there's no judgment whatsoever. Wherever you come from, whatever happened in your life, how far you think you went away from God, my pastor is going to welcome you. And that's why I went to that church, because they're very kind. And I love them so much. Like, they're very open people. And my pastor wants to help people get out of where they are. So, no, he's a great guy.
Thank God for godly people. And I was thinking about your encounter with Jesus. When you were communicating with Jesus, was it like kind of telepathy kind of conversation, like spirit to spirit, or did you actually hear His voice? And if so, if you heard His voice, what did He sound like? And what did He look like to you?
Oh, he's very tall. He was actually next to me. I was not able to see his face. I don't know why, but I was seeing his feet. Like, I was seeing what he was wearing, and I could see like the hole, and his voice is very manly, I would say. And it's very reassuring. It's peaceful. It's a kind of voice that you recognize. Like, you know it's him. And when he say, my sheep know my voice, that's exactly it. Like, there's no deny from it. This is God. You know it's Him. And it's very peaceful. It's calming. Like, it's full of warmth and love. There's no arrogance or condescending. It's very welcoming. And that's how I know it's Him, because what He say He is in the Bible, that's exactly how He is. And He's loving. He loves us. Even if you go astray and you think you went too far in life, remember this: you're never too far for Christ. Never.
And during your story, you mentioned how the devil was reminding you of your past and that guilt and that shame. And just remember, when that happens, you give it to Jesus. You run to Him. And you mentioned I think you mentioned a podcast. You also starting a podcast?
Yes.
Tell me more. I want to hear about it.
So it's called Holy Unfiltered. It's pink, of course. It's for women. And I'm gonna start the Friday, Filter Free Friday. I want it to be a podcast where we don't sugarcoat things. We call things for what they are. So if we sin, if we like, this is the word of the Lord. This is what is written. And this is a podcast where I want to welcome mostly my friends, the church, and we're going to talk about Christ and what is written in the Bible and why it's so important. I'm going to give you a good example that we're going to talk about that is very conflicting in the women's society when they say, obey your husband. I would say that example on that one, people think because it's a modern world, of course, women think, oh, why would I obey to my husband? When we talk about obey and be submissive, it's not that. Like if my boyfriend come to me and say, oh, I'm going to rob a bank, bring the kids and let's go. Of course, I'm not going to obey to him and I'm not going to be submissive. But if we let him lead the way Christ lead the church, we trust that he's gonna bring us in a good place. That's what we see as submissive and obedience. It's knowing that first of all, Adam was created and after Eve was created. So when God was talking to Adam, was not talking to Eve, and Adam was talking to Eve. And when they say the woman shouldn't talk, or lead, it's not about because she's less. It's because God is talking mostly to men. This is the men. Like, I don't believe a woman can be a pastor, to be very honest with you. She can be a deacon, but to lead the church, I would say it's mostly manly, and that the Bible talk about it. I mean, that's why I say, if you're really in it and you love Christ and you want to follow him fully, you're going to respect what the Bible say. And it's not because women are less. Women have good qualities. I mean, if you look at mothers inside, like every time you're a mom and you're inside your house and you take care of your family, as a man, you can go to work, you can do all these things. You're going to come home and everything is going to be made. And that doesn't make me less. Actually, because I take care of my household, that means you can do more for us and you are going to love me the same way as Christ loved the church, because we take care of it, So I think it's all perspective, and I feel that online it's very conflicting, but it's time that the world change and follow what the Bible say, even if sometimes maybe we don't agree because it's a modern world, but it's written for a reason. And women shouldn't base off like, oh, why should I submit to my husband? They have a very bad idea of it. So this is all subject that we're going to bring that is very controversial, but needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed. I mean, like, you can say I follow Christ, but go things that is written against it in the Bible. Like, I mean, that doesn't work.
Veronica, tell me again the name of the podcast.
Oh, Holy Unfiltered.
And I'll make sure to include the link in the description below, along with the book. Is there a way to find the book online somewhere? Where can people get a hold of it?
I put it on Amazon. It's called Ava Lemby and the Magic Coin. So basically the book is my daughter. I made her a little bit older because, like the way she speaks, it's not very like in the book, but it's very understanding for toddlers. She understands it. And she have like a little lamb that it like helping her, guiding her. And there's a coin that she's going to, find in the garden, in the backyard of the house. And it's going to like swirl and it's going to be like a big portal. And they're going to go inside and they go back in time and they're going to meet Jesus. And Jesus is going to show them the story of what happened. My daughter is asking question. So she's going to say, but why did they listen to the serpent? So Jesus is going to answer to that. And it's very made for kids to understand with simple words, but still questions that are deep. So they really understand the meaning of it. I mean, my church know about it. Like my family saw it. It's gonna be on my social media soon. But yes, it's a book that I'm very proud of. It's the first book that I made, and I'm looking forward to do this series. I'm just trying to figure out if someone can help me with the design, because I actually got turned down when I found someone to do the drawing on the book and the image and stuff. The guy was like, so what is your book about? I said, oh, it's about Jesus. He's like, sorry, I cannot do it. And I was like, what? But if it was another like religion, he would have accepted. But he's like, because it's Christianity, I cannot do it. So I ended up like just finding a tool that I can use just for the design and stuff like that, just to make sure that it's out there.
Well, if you're a designer, you're watching this, you want to help Veronica out, definitely reach out. And I'll include the link to the podcast and to the book in the description below. But Veronica, in closing, let's say someone's watching who is in a similar path that you were in. You know, they're in dancing and all of that. And like you were talking about how, man, it's like when you were you were trapped in that, right? And
yes,
it's hard to get out.
Exactly.
But it's more
It's the
physically trapped and spiritually trapped. So what would you say to that person?
Come talk to me. I'll listen to you. I'll help you. I got out of there. You can get out of there. And I promise you, if you call on the Lord, He's going to answer. But I'm going to be there for these women because it's very important. And I know they're worth more than that. And if they think they're less than that and no one would ever accept them, this is not true. And my church is going to welcome them. We are doing lives. We are like, we're very present. And my pastor is behind me and he's like, if you have to fill 1,000 girls inside the church, we're going to welcome them and we're going to help them the more we can.
Man, I think your pastor is my favorite guy now. I just love his spirit. I love what he stands for. And I love the fact that you're so close to your pastor.
Yes, he's close to everyone. If you want, like at one point, I can send you the link. Today we have actually the Bible study, The Armor of God. My pastor is Italian. I don't speak Italian, but we have a translator. He speaks English, but it's very hard. So that's why he has someone in English.
Interesting.
But yes, every Friday we have Bible study, and every Sunday that's Deliverance Day. So whoever needs prayer, they can send it. They can come forward, and he's gonna help deliver anything that you have inside. And he worked with the Holy Spirit, so believe me, even if he doesn't know you, he's gonna know a lot of things about you.
Amazing. Well, Veronica, thank you so much for your time. Enjoyed it. We'll stay in touch.
Yes, thank you. Have a nice day.
God bless. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. I have another video I want you to see. Up next, my friend Robin Cunningham left his body and he saw heaven, hell, and even Judgment Day. And guess what? It's closer than you think. That video should be coming up on the screen right now. If you don't see it on the screen, check the description below for the link. Until next time, have a great rest of the day, and I look forward to serving you and getting to know you more inside of our free private community over at family.godsvoicetoday.com. Talk soon. Bye-bye.